how this looks to me?
In 1 second, I'm live. We are live. Okay. Let's go see how this looks. Just like that, yeah.
Is that okay for one?
Yeah. That's fine, yeah. Yeah, because it illuminates the castle.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Alright. Well, hello everyone. This is James with Brain Candy Productions. And today we're going to be talking about Mega Man. And we're going to be talking about the new Cartoon Network adaptation because actually I was kind of surprised. I kind of liked it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to review of it. And I should have made my camera a little bigger, or maybe I should have just turned the camera off altogether. So, I'm going to close some windows here so we don't have any bit rate issues. Give me a second. I was really happy with it. So the first thing that they did for the homage, when Mega Man comes in to save people from a burning building, they did a Mega Man 2 homage on top of the building, the music and everything, which was really cool. Mega Man definitely has more of a Mega Man X aesthetic, which is really, it's nice looking. I like the neon, but it's kind of confusing too because Mega Man X is like literally his own character. And a little bit of the plot, which it looks like they're kind of rolling characters into each other, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. So the characters are in Silicon City after we get Mega Man and his friends, well, Mega Man and his antics, I'm calling them antics. We get to meet his sister and his dad. He's a robot, and his name is Aki, and his sister is Suna. And there's a little person in Aki's head called Mega Mini, which I don't know how I feel about the character yet. Not sure. But could be good. Dr. Light, it looks like they definitely made him the wise, sort of fatherly figure who's very absent-minded. And then they talked about a little bit of lore that I've never heard of called the Hard Age War, and I'm gonna look at that, the Battle of the Hard Age, because I didn't know anything about it. And I'm pretty well up on my Mega Man lore. So we get to meet some of the more supporting cast members. Like there's this little toaster that talks, this really wild-haired redhead kid. Hi, Mimi! This really wild red-haired kid named Bert, and his toaster, and some other people, and the principal, who I can only assume is the principal of the school. Is like 100 feet tall, and he looks like he was an old warbot because he's got shoulder-mounted missiles in the whole shot. I thought he looked really cool. And then some things happened. So this guy, Sergeant Breaker Knight, who's got an aesthetic arm, lost it during the war. Dr. Light replaced his arm, his right arm. And then, oh, Mimi says hi. You gotta do more than wave. She can't see you.
Hi, Mimi.
There you go. Breaker Knight definitely has things against robots, which is kind of... I'm gonna get to my thoughts at the end of the review about the characters because there's some stuff going on here, like finding out that Suna, who I thought was going to be taking up the role persona, the role of role, ends up being human, and I'm so confused because holy crap. Yes, Baby Rose is sleeping. Baby Rose is very, very asleep. After dinner, she go night-night. Mac and cheese good on her tummy. So, Fireman shows up, and I have to say, the redesign of Fireman stays very true to the original, but man, he looks as menacing as I felt that he was when I was fighting him in Mega Man 1. So that was great. So they kind of give an explanation as to why he's rampaging through the city, burning down buildings, and catfish sounds good for dinner. And one of the things that kind of made me go, okay, they cut back to these 16-bit little like homages, and you can hear Fireman's music, and he's welding, and he gives an explanation of, well, so-and-so from HR says that your work is shoddy, and I was just like, this is hilarious. This is good, and it kind of gives him a little bit of a reason to fight. And then they get into a fight, Mega Man and Fireman, and Mega Man starts replicating Fireman's power without having to defeat him, which kind of made me go, okay. So he uses his Mega Buster, which he then cannot attack, and he states that I can't attack anyone while replicating, and I am stuck literally dodging. And I was like, interesting, this is weird. So Fireman gives him an epic uppercut, sends him up into the air, and Mega Man, that's the end of episode 1. Ends really abruptly. These are 11-minute episodes. So then Mega Man on episode 2 finally lands, and hey, look, it was all the people that he saved that saw him in his heroics in the beginning of episode 1 that he lands in this construction site. And he starts talking like Fireman, get out of my personal space, leave me alone. It was really funny because he even says to the birds in the sky, stop tweeting me. I was like, that's so good. So he's running back, and he wants to use Fireman's abilities, but Mega Mini is telling him, dude, you are taking on his personality. You need to chillax and control yourself before you use his schematics, which I thought was interesting, that Mega Man is corruptible by downloading other people's abilities. So Light is trying diplomacy with Fireman, and Sergeant Breaker Knight is literally just ramping him up. Like, you're useless, you're a tool, you're a robot, we're better than you. And Breaker Knight looks like he could actually probably go hand to hand with Fireman for a second, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. So then what ends up happening, Mega Man uses tactics, gets everyone down the sewers, and they start talking. Mega Man is talking about how short-sighted Breaker Knight is, and this is where I'm going to start saying stuff. They are really using this kind of very, how do I say this? Love and peace coexist sort of aesthetic to the show. Like, everyone's unique in their own way. No one's really a bad person. People are just confused, so on and so forth. I think that's kind of neat because it does teach kids today, hey, when people are lashing out and they're not quite themselves, doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. Maybe there's something else going on in their life, which is weird. Like, but that kind of also rolls into Mega Man X, Reploids versus humans, and Sigma trying to eradicate humans because he thinks humans are inferior to Reploids, and that the robot masters should take over the world. So they're taking stories and kind of like real world dilemmas and really trying to address them, which I think is interesting. It's a little meta, but we'll see how it goes, because so far the show is enjoyable. So while we've got that going on, the most hilarious thing starts happening. Fireman has 2 canisters for combustion that he shoots fire from. He doesn't have hands or fingers. He's trying to pick up the manhole. He's trying to pick up the manhole without any fingers. He even says, "This would be easier if I had fingers." It's kind of funny. So that's happening, and I'm like, okay, let that happen. So while that's happening, Mega Man busts out, puts him out with sewer water, and eventually Fireman recombusts. They try diplomacy again. Mega Man then pretty much goes ahead and states what I just stated. Hey, listen, you're angry because of A, B, and C reasons. You're not really a bad bot. There's no such thing. Why don't we cool down, stop the fighting? Diplomacy fails, and Fireman essentially starts attacking again. Mega Man then uses Fireman's own schematic, and in the original Mega Man games, Mega Man would turn a color scheme. And the color scheme, based on the ability, would be, you know, close to mimicking that ability. For example, Fireman, you were, I believe, red and gray. So when you get that color palette, you knew that you were using Fireman's weapon. Well, it wasn't just the color that changed, it was his whole entire aesthetic, which looked awesome. He looked like a fusion between the 2 characters, which is something that you kind of see a little bit in Mega Man X, is different parts of his armor turn different colors, giving him a slightly different aesthetic. And that is freaking cool, I thought. So Mega Man essentially defeats Fireman, but doesn't really defeat him. Tries diplomacy again, talking about, hey, listen, the whole idea of Silicon City is we were built on unity. There's even a hollow, like, hands shaking, and I see a lot of this unity. And it really is trying to abolish hate speech, which for an 11-minute kids cartoon, I think is rather ambitious. So, hey, good on them. So Fireman gets confused. He's conflicted. He's like, wait, it looks and sounds good. I want to take part in that, but you're all stupid. He starts distancing. Stupid. You're all stupid. I can't do that. It's stupid. And he literally goes up in a blaze of glory and disappears and digs himself a tunnel with fire. That's pretty impressive. So then we get a scene of Fireman groveling. Now, I will say this. Sergeant Breaker Knight has kind of a, I'm going to say it, Louisiana gentleman accent to him. He sounds very much like, what was his name? Asmodeus in Supernatural. And I was like, huh, interesting. Well, you hear him, Breaker Knight, talking, at least that voice, saying, hey, you didn't mess up. Don't worry about it. You know what? The way to break Silicon City is to break Mega Man. And I was like, interesting. So it looks like, and by the way, when he's talking, he has this computer screen in front of him, Breaker Knight, and you get this reflection. It looks like his hair and his mustache go from black to white. And when he's got that side profile, it really looks like if you took Dr. Wily and Sigma. Ding to see that. So we have our first 2 episodes. And our next episode is coming out. We'll say this. Things I liked, things I didn't like. The good things that I liked about this show were simply the music and the fights were dead on. They looked good. I was very surprised. What I didn't like is they were starting to change up things with the lore, giving us a little tidbit here and there, dropping little hints of there was a war. Wait a minute. There was a war in Mega Man that caused Mega Man X, and they allude to it a little bit with Dr. Light and more in the Mega Man X-Zero playthrough. So it sounds like they're taking all the lores and kind of putting it together, which is interesting, which is something I don't know that I like yet. But the characters so far, with the exception of Mega Mini, I don't know how I feel about him. But Aki, Suna, Dr. Light, I like them. Sergeant Breaker Knight, we'll see. He might annoy me in the future, but it depends on where they go with it. So that is my thoughts on this series so far, the first 2 episodes. Drop me a like. Tell me what you guys think. Converse. Then hopefully the next review I do, Mimi, it'll be more than just you, me, and Tara in the room. But I want to talk about the series because the series looks fun and it's trying to send a positive message, and I actually admire that. So I'm going to see you guys all in the next exciting episode. Tara and I are gaming a lot more on Twitch these days, so follow us on Twitch TV, twitch.tv/BrainCandyProductions. And I will throw the link in the description down below. Also follow Mimi, DarkFireCat, I think 06. I'll throw her link and Wesly's link because we are gaming on Twitch and we're trying to build us up there. And I will join the Shade fam. Mimi. Anyway, thank you very much. This has been James. This is Brain Candy Productions. I'll see you in the next exciting episode of whatever Brain Candy has going on.